I send the pestilence and plague into your house, into your bed, into your streams, into your streets, into your drink, into your bread, upon your cattle, on your sheep, upon your oxen, in your field, into your drinks, into your sleep, until you break, until you hear. I send the sword, I send the sword, thus saith the Lord.
Welcome to Wednesday night's Bible study. My name is Philip Brand. This is Grayson Snyder.
That is who I am.
That is who you are. And we're in Exodus chapter 8.
Oh, looky there.
This is episode number 10.
Wow.
Number 10. That means that only 2 chapters have had 2 lessons in them. So in my original 80 number, because if you did 2 lessons per chapter, that would be 80, right? So now we're at 72 lessons.
Well, according to my math, we were at 60. Now we're at 50.
We're keeping what you said at first. Because you know what? Seth also chimed in on this in the thing after yours.
What did he say?
He said he would keep it at 78.
Right now we're moving in.
Or 76. He might have said 76. I have it written down somewhere.
Pace.
I need to write that down so I don't forget it. But yeah, Grayson on 3-4. We're in part 6, chapter 4. At this pace, 60 parts
Yep.
to the study.
No,
It still might be 60 parts. Because, we do have the 10 Commandments and other stuff. I just don't know. I really don't know. And I'm not going to try to make stuff happen with it. But we'll see. I mean, we estimate early on going to see who's the closest. You say 60.
Yeah.
He says, I think it's 78 that he said. I have it written down.
He's playing kind of Price is Right formula is what he's trying to do.
That's exactly what he's doing. All right, so we are in Exodus chapter 8. What we know is that one plague has already started.
Mm-hmm.
That's the plague of the water turning to blood.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just the Nile. It was in every pot, every container, everything that had water, even the rivers, the ponds, everything like that turned to blood. Definitely lasted 7 days is how long it lasted. And so we're in the second one, and we're going to hop right in.
Okay.
You'll see why I said that in a minute. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go into Pharaoh and say to him, 'Thus says the Lord, let my people go, that they may serve me. But if you refuse to let them go, behold, I will plague all your country with frogs.'" Hop right in.
Hop right in.
Oh, hop right in. It starts just like the first plague did with a discussion. Actually, a instruction from God to Moses and Aaron to tell them what to do to go into Pharaoh. It's very similar. And the threat is you let them go to worship me in the wilderness, or I am going to send a lot of frogs. Now, that doesn't sound that bad.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to send a lot of frogs. What does that mean exactly? I mean, a lot of frogs. I think we can put up with all of that.
Help the insect problem.
It'll definitely flies.
Yeah.
Definitely flies. Take care of flies and some other insects. No. Yeah. It doesn't seem to be a big deal. And there's no demand for anything new. It is just repetitive. It is let my people go to worship me. And it's a demand in that way. Nothing added, nothing subtracted. It is the same. But the frogs isn't just sending some frogs into the land. You see, you might not know this. You might know this. But each year, the Nile its borders would rise, would expand, if you will.
Yeah, but kind of overflow.
Yeah, it's not a flood.
Right.
But it would expand.
There's a word for it. I forget what it's called.
It would expand and then it contracts, expands, contracts. Those are the words we're using today. And every time it expanded, frogs would multiply. on the river, but it would be all located right at the Nile.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wouldn't go into the land.
Yeah.
And so they were already kind of used to this frog surplus each year anyway. And so when they say a lot of frogs are going to come, Pharaoh's probably thinking, well, that happens every year and we survive.
Yeah.
Right? So what's the big deal? But God says to Moses and Aaron, this is how this frog thing's going to go down. Okay? The Nile shall swarm with frogs that shall come up into your house and into your bedroom and on your bed and into the houses of your servants and your people and into your ovens. There are going to be so many frogs that when you start putting stuff in the oven,
You're just going to get baked frog.
yeah, if you're cooking a pizza, there's going to be frog on the pizza. Frog legs on your pizza. Barbecue frog leg pizza.
Barbecue frog.
Yeah, they say it tastes like chicken.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in your kneading bowls. Now, we think of a kneading bowl like you have hands. I mean, you've been to Biscuitville, right? You've seen the window and she's kneading or he's kneading. Not saying that men can't do it. I'm just saying they're kneading the dough right there. That's not how they did it here. It was nastier. They did it with their feet.
No.
So the bowls were there and they mushed everything together with their feet. I don't know. That we've come a long way.
Because you got frogs in there now too.
Yeah, so the frogs, so if you think about it, they're pushing down on the dough and there's the frogs being squished into the dough. And I don't know if you've ever squished a frog or a toad, but there's some weird stuff that comes out of a
Juices.
toad. Oh, just absolutely nasty. So in your kneading bowls, and the frogs shall come upon you and on your people and all your servants. So there's the existence of these frogs, and then there's whatever noises that they are making.
Yeah.
They are everywhere, and they're making croaking noises.
Yeah.
You know, some frogs sound like they're crying.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard that?
I have.
So I don't know which one this is. I do know that the African bullfrog is more like a, deep. It's not the scream. But whatever sound they're making has to be deafening.
Yeah.
With these frogs everywhere.
And there's never quiet.
Never quiet. You go to bed, not quiet.
Right.
Because they're in your bed.
Yeah.
They're in your bedroom. They're in your house. They're in your oven. They're in your knee. They're everywhere. I mean, we can't even step without stepping on a frog.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So, verse 5, and the Lord said to Moses, say to Aaron, stretch out your hand with your staff over the rivers and over the canals and over the pools and make the frogs come upon the land of Egypt. So Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. The last time he stretched his hand over water, it turned to blood. That's what happened. And then the rest of the water pots, blood. So now it's frogs. But the magicians did the same by their secret arts and made the frogs come up upon the land of Egypt. Now, I think that's hilarious. You already have a frog infestation. Is that how you say that word? Infestation? And you have your magicians add to the problem.
Yeah.
That is government. That is the epitome of what the government does, right?
You're already being
At least some people
overrun,
think.
And the magicians are like, hey, Pharaoh, watch this.
Watch this. I can add to your problem.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have enough frogs in your bedroom, Pharaoh, so we're going to make some more.
Yeah.
Come on up. It's what's happening. So it's kind of comical. A couple of things I want to point out. First of all, the word plague here is used 11 times. And actually the word plague, let me put it this way. Plague, there's 11 different Hebrew words for plague. And they seem to be used in Exodus. This particular word means to strike a blow against an enemy or to strike a blow in judgment is what the word plague means. So why frogs? Well, a couple of reasons. possibly why God chose frogs. First of all, frogs were seen as being sacred animals to the Egyptians. So they wouldn't kill them. There were no frog leg eating in Egypt. They viewed them as a symbol of fertility from a god that they worship. Now, that god's name was, I think it's Heket. Heket. Heket.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know really how they pronounced it, but Heket. And it was one of the 8 primeval deities in Egypt. And she was portrayed as a woman, the she, with a frog's head.
Oh.
Now that's attractive.
Yeah.
It's very attractive. So, yeah, that's what she's portrayed as. And she was married to a guy named Khnum, and he was the creator god. And so the worship of her surrounded these frogs, which they felt were sacred, and they really didn't want to kill these frogs because the frogs represented her. So God is using their false god to judge them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to go throughout the whole land. In fact, because it's so many of them, and because she is also a god of land fertility, it's so many of them. God is just mocking what they believe.
Right.
What they believe about this God.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. Yeah. So, pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. So Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron and said, plead with the Lord. This is the first time that he's recognized Yahweh as a God. To take away the frogs from me and from my people. Also, we need to understand that Pharaoh is saying that he does not have any sway over the Hebrews' God. So someone else is going to have to plead to that God for him.
Yeah.
So this is a change in the way he's thinking.
Yeah.
A little bit. So it said, take away the frogs from me and my people, and I will let the people go and sacrifice to the Lord. So if you're Moses, you're like, great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's do this. And Moses said to Pharaoh, be pleased to command me when I am to plead for you and for your servants and for your people that the frogs be cut off from you and your houses and be left only in the Nile. So when do you want me to do this? Now, at this point, what would you say if you were Pharaoh? Now. Yeah, because it's horrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible. Pharaoh's crazy. Pharaoh answers him in verse 10 and says, and he said tomorrow. Blows my mind. I would want it right now. But no, Pharaoh says tomorrow. So Moses says, okay, be it as you say, so that you may know that there is no one like the Lord our God. So you chose the time. I will ask God to end it tomorrow.
Yeah.
You could have chosen in the next 5 minutes, but no, you decided to do tomorrow. So you're going to know that God is the Lord. So the frogs shall go away from you and your houses and from your servants and from your people, and they shall be left only in the Nile. So Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moses cried. That particular word, cry, is a word that's used throughout the Bible as someone that's crying for God to move and alleviate their suffering. So Moses cried to the Lord about the frogs as he had agreed with Pharaoh. So he's keeping his side of the deal. And the Lord did according to the word of Moses. By the way, that's a powerful statement. The Lord did according to the word of Moses, which shows the power of prayer at a certain level. Right. So that's pretty awesome. The frogs died in the houses, in the courtyards, and the fields. So this is what God did. God didn't make them magically disappear like he made them magically show up. And I'm using magically very loosely.
Right.
Okay. He left them there.
Yeah.
Okay. Verse 14 says, and they gathered them together in heaps, and the land stank. Now that particular word, heaps, is a word, a measurement word, like a mathematical measurement word. It's omri, I think, omers, O-M-E-R-S. It's omers. It is the largest number that they had fathomed at that time.
Wow.
And it actually reads omers and omers and omers,
Mm.
is how this reads. So heaps would be omers and omers and
Yeah.
omers. It's just countless, and a countless amount of frogs that are dying. And the land stank. The land stank is kind of parallel to the Red Sea, stinking up the land and the fish.
Mm.
So now they're stinking because of these frogs. And I bet it did stink. Yeah. So verse 15 says, but when the Pharaoh saw that there was a respite,
Mhm.
a withdrawal, he hardened his heart. There's that theme again.
Mhm.
Made his heart heavy and would not listen to them as the Lord had said. So what do you think about all of that?
Yeah, I personally, since I didn't have to go through this, I think it's hilarious that God just left them there.
He just he left them there.
Yeah, so it's the whole order of events. You got Moses saying, just pray tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah.
And then God's like, I'm not going to make them return back to a river or any kind of water.
Not going to make them disappear, which he could have.
Yeah, they're just going to die in your homes.
And you're going to have to pile them up.
Yeah.
As I was thinking about this really helped the children of Israel out.
Mm.
The amount of bricks that they had to make each day,
Yeah.
nobody was concerned about the quota.
Right. They wanted those frogs
They
gone.
wanted those frogs gone. That was the main focus of their entire life, was these frogs. And then when they die and they're just dead in your house,
Mm.
can you imagine opening up your oven and
All these
how
frogs.
long, like, imagining this, you clean up the frogs and then you go back into your house and you find a frog that you missed.
Oh, yeah. You're finding frogs for the next 6 months.
Like just the other day, just yesterday actually, I walked into our guest bathroom
Mm.
and saw a Christmas decoration that was still on the counter.
Yeah.
We missed it. We put up all our Christmas decorations a couple of months ago, but
Yeah.
there, boom, was a Christmas decoration that we had forgotten about. Yeah. So you walk into a place like under your bed and there's still one in the corner and
Mm.
yeah. What we do know is if they were dissecting these in school, at least they had enough of them to do it.
That's the reason we dissect them, because this is where it started. They
Yeah.
had such a surplus of them.
Mm.
Dissected all of them.
So wow.
Hmm.
Wow. I know that God predicted that his heart would harden, and I know that God hardens his heart as well later. But man, it's hard to fathom that you would miss this with all those frogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that brings us to the third plague. And it's gnats. Okay. Then the Lord said to Moses, say to Aaron, so here it starts again with God giving them instructions.
Mm-hmm.
Stretch out your staff and strike the dust of the earth so that it may become gnats in all the land of Egypt. So what is missing here is a demand to Pharaoh to let the people go.
Yeah.
What is missing here is a warning that if he doesn't, this is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think that this happened because Pharaoh hardened his heart and changed his mind.
Yeah.
And so God said, okay, I'll immediately send another plague.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're not sure what these gnats actually are,
Yeah.
but what we are sure about is that there is an Egyptian god named Geb, G-E-B,
Geb.
and he's the god of the earth and was over the dust of the earth.
Mm.
So when they do this, it is a strike against that false god.
Yeah.
And God is showing that he's really the ruler.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we do know. If it is him, we think, at least people that I've read, think that these gnats were like our gnats, except for they were gnats that bite you.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, and they leave little things. You know, our gnats bite you.
I did not know that they bit me when they landed on me.
Fruit flies do not, which a lot of people think fruit flies are gnats.
Yeah.
And gnats are fruit flies, but that's not the case. So gnats, if there's a lot of them, they will bite you, and they'll live little things. Okay?
I'm gonna start killing more of them now.
Yeah, you need to. So stretch out your staff and strike the dust of the, so that it may become gnats in all the land of Egypt. So now we have all the land of Egypt is going to be covered in these little bitty gnats. So basically you could see the black wings is all you can see of a gnat.
Yeah.
At least that's all I can see.
Little speck.
A little speck just flying around. And just a couple of them are irritating enough. Okay? So, and they did so, and Aaron stretched out his hand with his staff and struck the dust of the earth, and there were gnats on man and beast, and all the dust of the earth became gnats in all the land of Egypt. Now, that particular phrase, all the dust of the earth became gnats in all the land of Egypt, I'm sure that there was still dust around.
Yeah.
The point of this is that it was a lot of gnats, and it was more gnats than it was frogs.
Yeah.
Okay? Verse 19, the magicians tried by their secret arts to produce gnats. Because what do we want to do? What would the government want to do when there's a problem?
Make more of
Make
it.
more of the problem. I hope I don't lose anybody by these political things, but it does seem we do make a lot of things worse. So there were gnats on man and beast. And then the magician said to Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. This is something supernatural. We cannot make these gnats. We cannot make these gnats go away. And this is the finger of a power that is beyond us, and it's beyond any of our gods. It's more powerful than any of the gods that we worship.
Yeah.
But Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he would not listen to them, as the Lord has said. So he's not listening to his magicians.
You know what would be really nice for them right now? A couple of extra frogs.
Oh, that's the frogs. That's right. If the frogs had stayed, yeah, the gnats. So what is missing from this plague is a conversation between Pharaoh and Moses to get rid of the gnats.
Yeah.
So we don't know when these gnats left.
Right.
We just don't have a clue. So yeah, there you go. Finger of God. Any comment on that?
No, that would be very annoying.
Be very annoying.
Very annoying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The fourth plague.
Fourth plague.
Okay. Then the Lord said to Moses, same type of structure. God is telling them what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rise up early in the morning and present yourself to Pharaoh as he goes out to the water. Now, the last time that Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh as he went out to the water was when they turned the Nile to blood.
Mm.
So that's the last time that was used. While Pharaoh is going out to the water is probably still the same type of sacrificial, trying to get his land to produce
Yeah.
and telling the gods to do certain things. He could be taking a bath, but probably not. Probably not. And say to him, thus says the Lord, let my people go that they may serve me. Same demand. Or else, if you will not let my people go, behold, I will send swarms of flies on you and your servants and your people and in your houses, and then the houses of the Egyptians shall be filled with swarms of flies, and also the ground on which they stand. Now that is a moment you need the frogs.
Yeah.
But picture this. They're everywhere and they're all over the floor. We had a fly in staff meeting today, and it was irritating enough. We had staff members,
Yeah.
doing this, and you could tell where the fly was depending on who was doing this. That fly never messed with Emily.
She's a baby.
Maybe that's it.
Flies don't like babies.
Well, flies might not like babies. Well, what we do know about flies is they do bite.
Hmm.
They do bite. So, have you ever killed one that had blood in it?
Yeah.
That's bitten somebody.
No. Wow.
Yeah, that's bitten somebody. So we know that flies bite. And so here are all these flies, and they're going to be absolutely everywhere. But verse 22 tells us something interesting. But on that day, I will set apart the land of Goshen, where my people dwell, so that no swarms of flies shall be there, that you may know that I am the Lord in the midst of the earth. So the whole debate over, are the children of Israel Pharaoh's people, or are they Yahweh's people, is now being settled.
Yeah.
God is saying they're mine.
Mm-hmm.
And here's how I'm showing you that they're mine. They will not have not even one fly buzzing around
Yeah.
wherever they are. Okay. Verse 23, thus I will put a division between my people and your people. So see that division?
Mm-hmm.
My people, your people. These are my people you're not letting go.
Mm.
And your people. So there's a division there. You may know that I'm the Lord in the midst of the earth. Thus I'll put a division between my people and your people. Tomorrow this sign shall happen.
Mm.
So it's coming tomorrow, so get ready. Get your fly swatter out, because it's going to be something. Okay? And the Lord did so. And there came great swarms of flies into the house of Pharaoh and into his servants' houses throughout all the land of Egypt, and the land was ruined by the swarm of flies. What is missing here is a staff.
Mm.
What is missing here is Aaron holding out a staff. This just happened.
Yeah.
So God is really, without the staff, without Moses, without Aaron, causing this to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, on his own. And of course he can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He could have done the other ones without the raising of the staff.
Right.
Yeah. Verse 25, then Pharaoh called to Aaron and said, go sacrifice to your God within the land. So notice the adjustment of the demand.
Yeah.
You can sacrifice, but do it within the land.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to totally obey, but I will give you permission to do partially what your God is asking us to do. This is pretty bold.
Yeah.
He is saying this while there's flies all over him. Yeah. In the middle of a plague, he thinks that he has the authority to adjust the command of the God that sent the flies.
Right.
That's mind-blowing.
Right.
That shows a hardness of his heart, how hard he was. So, but Moses said, it would not be right to do so, for the offerings we shall sacrifice to the Lord our God are an abomination to the Egyptians. If we sacrifice offerings abominable to the Egyptians before their eyes, will they not stone us? So we know that this has to do with sheep. We know that this has to do with goats. And so goats and sheep were seen maybe as sacred animals.
Mm.
And killing them was not the thing to do.
Yeah.
And so that's probably what is going on here. Flies are also symbolic of Khepri, which is Khepre. Khepri?
Sounds great.
Khepri, yeah. This is the god of creation. In other words, the god that moves the sun and moon and is seen as a rebirth of life each day. And this particular god had the head of a
fly.
Yeah. So it's showing that your God doesn't have control over the flies that...
Right.
No. Verse 27, we must go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and sacrifice to the Lord our God as he tells us. So Pharaoh said, I will let you go and sacrifice to the Lord your God in the wilderness. Only you must not go very far away. So plead for me. So he's saying, he's doing it like this. You may go, if you're watching, I'm moving my hands if you're on the podcast. You may go into the wilderness and sacrifice. Please just get these things off of me. Please plead to your God. I mean, that you have to feel that frustration, right? Because he has to be at this point just irritated, tired of swatting at these flies. It is just awful.
Just don't go very far away.
Just don't go very far. But here he says you can go.
Yeah.
He says 3 days. Just go. Just plead for me. Then Moses said, behold, I'm going out from you, and I will plead with the Lord that the swarms of flies may depart from Pharaoh and from his servants and from his people tomorrow. Yeah, good luck sleeping tonight. Only let not Pharaoh cheat again by not letting the people go to sacrifice the Lord. So here's a couple of things that we know. First of all his magicians and stuff could not produce flies again. They couldn't add to the problem.
Yep.
Second, they couldn't get rid of these flies either. So Moses went out from Pharaoh and prayed to the Lord, and the Lord did as Moses asked. That is just a powerful statement. I think we need to understand that God, more than not, does what we ask him to do.
Yeah.
I recently saw a post on Facebook that said, today you are probably living a prayer that you prayed in the past.
Mm.
And I am.
Yeah.
I definitely am living
Yeah.
a prayer that an answer to the prayer that I prayed in the past. And that's a powerful thought.
Mm.
So I know sometimes we ask God for stuff and he doesn't do the things that we ask. But don't let that be global.
Mm.
Like he never does what I ask him to do. That is not true. He answers your prayer. And here it's according to Moses. He did what Moses asked, according to his will. And removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh and from his servants and from his people. Not one remained. So here, there's not heaps of flies everywhere.
Yeah, that would have been annoying too.
They flew off somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big world. You might today have a fly in your house that is a direct descendant. They live, what, 24 hours?
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
48 hours or something? Yeah. And, you know, direct, many lives ago was on Pharaoh. Don't take that as biblically accurate. Okay. Verse 32, but Pharaoh hardened his heart, made his heart heavy, this time also, and did not let the people go. He made his heart heavy. So what do you think?
I mean, on a not very serious note, the magicians, they try to produce the flies. Can't do it. Try to produce the gnats, you know, that sort of thing. You produced frogs one time.
Yeah.
Could be a helpful thing to do when you have a ton of gnats and flies.
Yeah.
Producing frogs again. But on a more serious note, I think that, you know, it just goes to show God wanting the glory that he deserves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's mocking these gods that they're worshiping, that they're sacrificing to, that they're bowing down to and everything. And he's showing them, you're worshiping this thing that has no power.
Yeah. So I think a theme that runs all the way through the Bible is every time God moves, it's so that people will know who he is.
Mm.
And it shows that he's actively involved in trying to make himself known to you and me, to people in the world. He's actively involved in doing that. And so he does stuff like this to show that he is God.
Yeah.
And in each one of these things, he's saying, so you will know that I am the Lord, so that you will know I am the Lord, so that you will know.
Right.
So long before John was written, that you may know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That whole theme. Moses was saying God desires for us to know him in a very real way.
Right.
And I would rather not know God by plagues.
Right.
And so today we can know him through a relationship with Jesus Christ, of course.
Yeah.
The second thing about this is this shows the control and the power that God has over his creation.
Mm-hmm.
From turning water to blood, to the frogs, to the gnats, to the flies, he can create whatever he wants to, whatever environment he wants to for you to live in.
Right.
And so it is a blessing when you don't have a lot of flies around you. It is a blessing when you're able to sit in a air-conditioned room in comfort. It's a blessing when you're able to sleep at night in a bed, regardless of what's going on in your life. It is a blessing to have comforts in this life, and it's things that God has given you.
Yeah.
Because just like he can cause these miracles to happen, he is causing a miracle to happen every day I wake up.
Yeah.
Because my house is a gift from God. It's a miracle from God that I'm able to stay out of the elements. Do you see what I mean?
The flies, the rain, anything that comes your way.
Because we see these as miracles in God's power, but what about God's everyday power?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is in the land of Goshen, they had no flies.
Right. Yep.
They were not even bothered with these flies.
And to them, that's not even like a supernatural thing that would happen in the morning. Like they wake up and there's not any flies. It's an everyday thing for them.
Yeah.
to not have those flies, but to the people that are in the land right next to them, they're suffering.
Which their environment, it shows, was given to them by God.
Mm,
So maybe sometimes we just need to stop and thank the Lord for the environment He gave us today.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, for whatever that's worth.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
The everyday things.
The everyday things are still a miracle of God.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's part 10. I feel like we should have had a special guest because it was the 10th episode of the Exodus study. And you know, in podcasts, 10th episode, 25th episode, 50th episode, usually you have a special guest or something.
I feel special.
Do you?
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm a guest.
Well, I'm glad that you feel special. You are special, Grayson.
Thank you.
You are special to Jesus. And with that said, grace and peace. We'll see you next week.
Then let my heart be hardened, and never mind how high the toss may grow. This will still be so. I will never let your